And at this time, every Tuesday, it's a Tuesday with Thompson. Pete Thompson joining us on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline on 97.3 ESPN. A lot to get to with Pete. Pete, how you doing on this Tuesday leading ahead to the NCAA tournament?
I'm doing okay, Josh. I hope I'll be doing well tonight when my alma mater, Temple, knocks off Belmont. Let's hope.
Well, speaking of Temple, Pete, Dunphy, they basically came down and said, listen, you can ride it out, but after that, you're done.
Yeah, and I mean, that was last year at this time was when that news broke, that Dump was going to be out, but at least they let him get another year. The news breaking today that Phil Martelli was out at St. Joe. And Phil Martelli's a good guy. I mean, I'll tell you what, Phil Martelli, after 24 years as a Hawk, all the stuff that he did on the court, all the stuff that he did there on Hawk Hill, he was even maybe better off when he did the Coaches with Cancer thing, and he and Dunphy were just unbelievable guys.
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, Pete. The thing with Martelli is this is a guy who committed so much of his energy and his time to helping people and helping charities and helping the local community and, helping other local schools and programs at high school level, in ways that, were bigger than just his win-loss record. And I feel like, I feel like St. Joe's did him wrong, Pete. And look, if I'm a parent, I'm not sending my kid to St. Joe.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about this Jill Bodensteiner, who's the athletic director there, but she did say she made the decision mutually with St. Joe's president Mark Reed. I know this. Bodensteiner had to go to Reed, and then Reed had to sign off for it. So, I mean, it went up the chain. But, at the end of the day, she came in from Notre Dame, right? And, I mean, that's the changing of the guard, so to speak, right? Bodensteiner came in from Notre Dame. For years, Don DeJulia had been the athletic director, and before that, he was like the sports information director. I mean, that Don DeJulia is a guy like Nebraska used to have Bob Devaney as the football coach, and then Bob Devaney for forever was the athletic director. Those are the kind of guys that you never had to worry about your job security with. And I don't think Phil saw this coming. I mean, he's turned 65 in a couple months, turned 65 in August, National Coach of the Year back in 2004. We all remember Jameer Nelson, but like I said, I think off the court, Delonte West too. I think off the court is where he's going to be missed the most. The impact he had in the community.
Pete, speaking of local people, Mike Trout, 12 years, $430+ million, and I'm glad you're on today because when you were at TV 40, you covered Mike Trout a little bit in high school. So kind of give your perspective on Trout, big money. And he's going to stay in Anaheim for a while longer.
Big money is certainly right. Reported 12 years, $430 million. I mean, that's a ridiculous amount of money, right? $100 million more than the Bryce Harper deal. I mean, it's the biggest and richest contract in all of pro sports. There were a lot of people out there, and I think I want to think that Dave Weinberg from the Press of Atlantic City might be one of them that just said, no way is Mike Trout ever leaving the Angels. Now, the number one reaction I got from people today as this was coming out, and by the way, I was in school trying to educate the youth of America, right? But, of course, my phone was buzzing a little bit, and I saw this, was that I get that the Angels broke the bank open to, sign him to a long deal. The thing that people were really surprised by is why does he want to stay with a team that's only made the playoffs one time during his 8 years there? So I guess the way they're drawing it up is that Artie Moreno said to him, look, we're going to have a $3 billion TV deal. They redid their TV deal out there, and TV pays the bills, right? Speaking of TV. So, they must have made some promises to Trout that they're going to go out and get him the pieces that they need to compete. But, boy, I'll tell you what.
If they haven't done it in, 8 years, what makes me think they're going to do it now? Their claim to fame was they signed C.J. Wilson, they signed Josh Hamilton, but didn't take care of him and his needs to stay sober off the field, like the Rangers did for him. They made him an MVP. They overpay Albert Pujols, who was way past his prime now. Shohei Ohtani comes over. He gets injured. They bring in Justin Upton. He's underwhelming. It's like this organization is making moves, but they're not winning moves. They're just, showy, headline makers.
Well, they must have whispered the right thing to Mike Trout and to his
I think the
agent
right thing,
because
Pete, was $430 million.
yeah, that's an unbelievable amount of money, and it'll certainly keep him there for the rest of his career. And so much for Bryce Harper's attempts to campaign to bring Trout back to Philadelphia. Harper said, "Hey, there's a guy coming up." No, Angels nullified that. They ripped up those final 2 years of his contract and slapped down this big contract. It's just the thing that's crazy about it too. All the stats that he has on the field, but like Mike Trout's WAR, his wins above replacement, are just ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just ridiculous. So, the Angels, quite frankly, couldn't afford to lose Trout. That's why they're doing it at this time. But you're right, those deals you talked about, the Pujols deal, that's an albatross for them. The Josh Hamilton deal, that's an albatross. These long-term deals they've given haven't worked out. And listen, just because he has a long-term deal doesn't mean that he can't get traded at some point, right?
Well, also don't forget, Pete, that the CBA comes up in a couple of years. So, baseball, who knows what the financial world will look like for baseball once that deal is agreed upon. We know that baseball had record revenues this year, but they also, so that's gross revenue, Pete. But as you know, in life with us adults, it's not the gross, it's the net. And baseball had a 10-year low in net revenue after expenses. Attendance is down, TV ratings are down. Who knows? You could make the argument, Pete, that this is the last big contract, maybe.
Yeah, so you get it while you can. Look, I would have loved to have seen him in Phillies pinstripes, and who said, I'll never say never, right? And until he says, ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to announce my retirement from Major League Baseball, I'm never going to say that I'm never going to 100% say that Mike Trout will never play in Philadelphia. I'm not going to say that. But yeah, it sure was a card played. And like I said, the Angels had to play that card.
All right, Pete. So you, me, Ryan, Mike Gill, Jeff Mosher, and Sully were all at the Sixers game on Friday night. And Mike Gill made a very, very emphasized point yesterday that you were busy watching the Flyers game.
I heard you sticking up for me. I was so thankful that you were presenting the reality versus the Mike Gill distorted. His version must be the truth. I'll just talk louder, and I'm Mike Gill, so it must be the truth.
So, Pete, would you like to have a 30 seconds to 45 seconds to set the scene a little bit for what your night was like on Friday?
All right, so Friday night, we are the Sixers radio affiliate, 97.3 ESPN, so listen to the Sixers on our air. And, of course, it's affiliate night, which means we're in a suite. And I'll be honest with you, we were in a suite last year on this kind of a night, and I don't remember it being nearly as lavish, I guess, for lack of a better word. They redone the suites. We had a good time last year, too. But I think what it was there was more people in the suite that weren't like 97.3 people. Like there was a bunch of radio affiliate people there. It pretty much was all of us from 97.3 and like one other group, like a husband, a wife, and their kids, and that was it, right? So we get in there, the food's laid out, right? There was one lone straggler piece of pizza, so I grab it because I'm thinking, well, no way are they going to bring another pizza. Nope, they brought another pizza. Now, Gil's visual yesterday of me sitting like at the Thanksgiving table, I basically, the seats down in the arena were like basically taken, and I wasn't just going to blaze in there, but I wanted to eat first anyway, so I sat in the back, and at first they had the TV on, the big screen TV on in the suite, and that's stupid because it's a 30-second delay, so by the time you hear Joel Embiid dunk or Ben Simmons drop a dime on somebody with a sick pass or, Tobias Harris 3, whatever it is, by the time you hear it, it takes forever to see it. So I finally said to the girl, hey, I think you can put the Flyers on. And Gil gave me all kinds of bleep for that, all kinds of grief for that, for watching the Flyers in the back. But as you accurately pointed out, I came down to the seats and sat next to Ryan and watched the fourth quarter. And the Sixers were very efficient. They held off the Kings, right? Game gets done. Then I went back and watched the Flyers blow it. So, it wasn't like I was abandoning one for the other.
Yeah, see, to me, a night like that isn't just about watching the Sixers game anyway. It's about socializing and doing different things anyway. So, for me, like for example, I would admit I spent half of my evening chatting it up with Jeff and his wife. So,
yes.
And,
more his wife. I think Jeff's getting jealous.
Well, I think Jeff was getting tired of talking to me. I think that's what happened. Jeff has to see me every week, so
Right.
and I think that was what part of the deal was. Look, let's be realistic. I'm a talkative individual when I start opening my mouth. So
Yes, sir. It's one of the beautiful things for somebody that's in a radio profession. It's good that you're able to talk.
well, also Pete, you've been in enough social settings to know with me. You put me in a position to talk to people, and I can carry the conversation.
That's right. Pull the string and watch them go.
Right. So, all right. So, but the Flyers did lose that night, and I ripped them the next day for it on Saturday because to me, you can't have a 5-2 lead and lose it. But what did they do, Pete? They followed up and beat the Penguins in overtime. I mean, what the heck are we supposed to think of this team?
They're not dead yet. It's that Monty Python line, if you've ever seen Monty Python and the Holy Grail, where the guy goes, "Bring out your dead! Bring out your dead!" And the guy in the cart goes, "I'm not dead yet." "Yes, you are. Get up there. Yes, you are." No, they're not dead yet, right? They still have playoff hope.
Right.
In anticipation of our conversation, I get the nightly email from the NHL with this big PDF chart, and I went through and I counted the Flyers' last 10 games, and I looked at all the opponents that they're playing. And, of course, huge game tonight at home against Montreal. You can hear that on our sister station, 104.1. But, Josh, I'll tell you this. This game tonight against Montreal, I counted up the last 10. You want to know how many non-playoff teams they faced in the last 10 games?
2.
1. The Rangers. Everybody else. Go through it. Montreal, playoff team. Chicago, playoff team. Islanders, playoff team. Washington, playoff team. Toronto, playoff team. Carolina in the chase. Dallas, playoff team. St. Louis, playoff team. Carolina. Where's the cupcake? There isn't one. So that's why it's such a huge mountain to climb. I think their percentage is something really low, like less than 3% that they will make the playoffs. But like I said, just think of that Monty Python line. I'm not dead yet.
All right, Pete, one more before I let you go. I got to ask you about this, Pete. So the reports are at midnight tonight, the Disney-Fox deal becomes official. For those who don't know, Disney is spending over $6 billion to acquire all the Fox movie properties. So that means, for example, Predator, Alien, Die Hard, Home Alone. Fox is giving up now the rights also to X-Men and Fantastic Four back to Disney. So the Disney studio has gone from being big to excessive. You're a movie guy, Pete. Does this excite you? Does this worry you?
Well, it's funny to see the stuff behind the scenes, and you're right. There's stuff that's been dropped off of Netflix. Disney's trying to launch its own subscription streaming content. They're going to have Disney Plus coming out, so that's why certain things have dropped off of Netflix and are now going to go back. Does it excite me? No, because I feel like ultimately it's going to hit me in the wallet somehow. But at the same time, look, the mouse has been around for a long time, right? There's a reason that they've made all that money. And quite frankly, Fox is going to sell to somebody. So if you're going to make a monster studio, this would be the one to make. I'll be okay with it as long as it doesn't hit me too bad in the wallet.
See, I don't think it's going to hit people too bad in the wallet, Pete, but I do think that this opens up a lot of crossover potential because, maybe we could see a Star Wars Alien crossover or, Predator make an appearance on like a Marvel movie or something. Like you could have a ton of fun with the possibilities or, Die Hard showing up in somebody else's movie. Like you could literally expand possibilities endlessly now.
Well, and the big loser in this scenario, too, is Comcast was the other company making a bid for it, which, of course, is the parent company of NBC Universal. So what does that mean? Does that mean that our local cable, does that mean FX1 is going to get blocked out or all the Fox, those things are played on a loop.
Okay,
right?
so really quick. So FX, FXX, and those channels, they stay with 21st Century Fox.
Okay.
Disney is getting now what basically accounts to a third ownership of Hulu. They get Sky News in Europe, which is their version of Fox News.
Yeah, Sky News is big. Yeah.
Okay, they get all the Fox regional networks, which they immediately had to sell. That was contingent on this deal. So Disney will have them for a hot second, and then they're all going to be sent out the door immediately. And right now, the biggest bidder on those right now are AT&T, Time Warner. Go figure. And then
interesting.
The only other real channel that's moving is I don't know if this is true or not, but they're saying that the only other thing Fox has to give up in this deal is also any ancillary movie rights that have to do with television shows. Like, for example, Buffy the Vampire Slayer is now the property of Disney.
Okay, because I know Fox Searchlight and the FX cable network are now going to be under the Disney umbrella.
Right.
But the guy has already come out. Who's that? Bob Iger? Who's in charge of Disney?
Bob Iger, yes.
Yeah, he's already come out and said he's not going to make any changes to them. So.
Yeah, well, also Iger said in the same meeting, he said, "Look, this was about the movies. This wasn't about anything else. It just Fox wanted to unload some of the other properties as well because Iger told the shareholders last year. He said, "Look, these Disney Marvel movies have become $1 billion business. So." He said, we're investing in the movie industry. We see the future as in movies and digital. So for them to get the movies and for them to get Hulu, to them is where the value was.
Of course, anytime there's a merger like this, the quote I'm reading right here from Vanity Fair is, anxiety is running high on the Fox lot. Oh, yeah. You think that big salary you got to save it. Look out.
All right, Pete. Well, I'll let you go on that note. I appreciate you joining me here on a Tuesday. Good to hear from you. It's good hanging out with you on Friday night.
Thanks, Josh. Good stuff on our Tuesday with Thompson. Go Temple, Pete Belmont.